Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome back for this week's study. We just had the beginning of spring service, the Rishun service, and I am so excited to see all the amazing things that God has prepared for us this year. This week, we were blessed with the transcript from Masaaki-sama's message number 21, Sacred Ground of Soil, Africa. And I am so excited to read it with you today. There's no reading enough of this sacred word because it is so powerful. This message has opened my eyes to so many things, like what is Meishu-sama's true thought on the sacred grounds today? What is the role of Africa? Meishu-sama's view on nature farming and a vegan diet, and so much more. Not only that, but most importantly, how this is all connected to each one of us and the salvation of humanity. This is a truly sacred message, and I look forward to receiving it with each one of you right after this. As we begin our study today, let us, in the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, recognize that it is by God's grace and only with Kyoshu-sama's permission that we are able to receive Meishu-sama's will through these sacred words and hold this weekly study. Truly, without the holy seed of Kyoshu, we would not be able to have these studies, and we wouldn't even exist as a church. So with hearts filled with gratitude, let us together with our ancestors, together with all of humanity, begin this weekly study with the church canon. Church canon. With great fear of God, we acknowledge that the Lord God is our true Father, the one and only God. And we revere Meishu-sama as the model for all humanity and as our own example to follow. Meishu-sama, who was born anew as a true child of God, the Messiah, by receiving the divine will that God accomplished in heaven. We believe that Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years ago embodied the name of Messiah, the name most holy and high, is serving the Lord God in unity with Meishu-sama. And we regard the sacred word of Kyoshu-sama, who reveals to us the will of Meishu-sama in this material world, as the sole, absolute, and irreplaceable foundation in advancing our mission here on earth. Words of prayer. God, I acknowledge that you are alive. Within me, you are alive. I thank you for nurturing me to be newly born as your child. May this blessing be shared with all. In the name of Messiah, which is one with Meishu-sama, I surrender myself to you. Please use me as you wish. Thank you so much. This week for our Instagram, actually, we have a very, very special announcement that I'd like to share with you. For those of you who haven't seen this announcement yet, during the Rishun service, it was shared to all members in Japan. And then shortly after, we received this overseas in the translation. And I like to read it for you today because, as you know, with the Rishun service, there's always something new that God has prepared, and this service leaves no room for want in that sense. And I like to share this with you. The post reads as follows: Masaaki-sama established as representative of Kyoshu. Today, at the World Church of Messiah beginning of spring service that held deep significance, we received an announcement of vital importance from Kyoshu-sama. I humbly would like to inform members all around the world. It was announced that Masaaki-sama, Kyoshu-sama's successor, has been established as representative of Kyoshu from today. The Board of Executive Directors of World Church of Messiah humbly receive Kyoshu-sama's wish, and we respectfully receive Masaaki-sama as representative of Kyoshu to preside over us. From here on to, let us receive together still more the guidance of Masaaki-sama, Kyoshu-sama's successor, and now representative of Kyoshu-sama. February 4th, 2024, Keiichiro Nari, President, World Church of Messiah. Everyone, this is truly a special. Everyone, this is truly a special mission, next step, I believe, for, of course, Masaaki-sama, but for all of us who are receiving the will of Meishu-sama through Kyoshu-sama, the holy seat of Kyoshu, and Masaaki-sama. Some people asked, so does this mean that Masaaki-sama is Kyoshu already? And no, that is not what it's saying, right? As we just read, Masaaki-sama is the successor of Kyoshu, of Kyoshu-sama, and is now officially representative of Kyoshu-sama. So on Kyoshu-sama's behalf, representing Kyoshu-sama, right? We receive the sacred words and guidance from Masaaki-sama. So this is a really special and also gives us even more as we receive this video message transcript that we're going to be reading today, message number 21, right? Because with that open heart, together as one, following the will of Meishu-sama through the holy seat of Kyoshu, we'll be receiving this message from now the representative of Kyoshu-sama, Masaaki-sama. So with that thought in mind, with that sonin in mind, I'd like to study this sacred word with you today. Masaaki-sama's message number 21, Sacred Ground of Soil, Africa, January 2024. Africa, Africa. When I think about the enormity of the mission Meishu-sama entrusted to you, my heart trembles with hope and excitement. All of us know that Meishu-sama in Japan constructed the three sacred grounds of Hakone, Atami, and Kyoto. Hakone of fire, Atami of water, and Kyoto of soil. This was when Meishu-sama was advancing his divine work mainly in Japan during his lifetime here on earth. But now, as all of you know very well, Meishu-sama advances his work throughout the world, and he now has a new thought about the sacred grounds and the role they should play. Needless to say, as I have said it before, all the sacred grounds that have existed until today have been tainted and desecrated by the despicable and cowardly acts of spying and blackmail committed against Kyoshu-sama by Sekai Kyuseikyo. These places are no longer sacred. They are just pieces of land without any connection to Meishu-sama. Taking this issue into consideration and also seeing that his members now exist in every corner of the world, Meishu-sama now has a new vision of sacred grounds. The sacred grounds of fire, water, and soil are no longer attributed to Hakone, Atami, and Kyoto, but to something much greater, something that encompasses the whole world. That is, the sacred ground of fire is now attributed to Japan, more specifically to the holy sanctuary of the Messiah, the World Church of Messiah will construct. Meishu-sama has already determined the place for the sacred ground of water, but the time is not yet ripe for me to specify the place today. And third, the sacred ground of soil is now attributed to Africa, more specifically to the sacred ground that the African members will construct in the Holy Land of Angola. Before, it was Hakone, Atami, and Kyoto. Today, in this global age, it is Japan, a place I am not allowed to say yet, in Africa. Japan, the sacred ground of fire, and Africa, the sacred ground of soil. I just want to make a quick pause here, right? This declaration by Masaaki-sama sharing with us Meishu-sama's new thought on the sacred grounds is amazing. It brings us to see that Meishu-sama is constantly changing, growing, evolving, and seeking something bigger, so much more, right? Whereas before we were in Japan and these sacred grounds were attributed to Hakone, Atami, and Kyoto. Now, with no connection to Meishu-sama whatsoever, aside from the fact that Meishu-sama constructed it, but really Meishu-sama is not there anymore, literally been kicked out by Sekai Kyusei Kyo by removing Kyoshu-sama from there. Meishu-sama is moving on to a much, much bigger scale, right? To a worldwide scale. And this is just so exciting to be a part of, right? To see God's plan evolving and Meishu-sama bringing that forth through Masaaki-sama for the world, through Japan, Africa, and this place that has not been announced yet. That just fills us with excitement. It fills me with much excitement and joy. I can't wait to be ever more involved in participating in the construction of these. At the same time, this past few days, somebody mentioned, right, upon receiving this video message, they had mentioned how a part of them, even though they were very happy with this announcement, they were kind of sad, right, to see all this that was built go, right, and no longer have any connection to Meishu-sama. And yes, I believe in a way it is very sad, right, but also it's very, very encouraging, right, to see Meishu-sama moving forward, Meishu-sama never moving backwards, never being caught or attached to what was, right? Always seeking what will be and what God has prepared and wants to reveal and share with all of humanity for each one of us. So more than being caught up on what was, actually being very grateful to what we're being guided to and what we're being asked to be a part of. I mean, this is just an amazing blessing to be in this world at this time, right? As the sacred grounds of fire, water, and earth are being built through members of World Church of Messiah, and being a part of that, that is just so special. Saksama continues. Africa is our motherland, right? It is the cradle of humanity. What place is better than Africa to be the sacred ground representing soil? It is just so fitting that Africa be the sacred ground of soil. And what is the role that the sacred ground of soil, the African sacred grounds, should play? What is soil then? Meishu-sama wrote the following: what you should know is the true significance of soil. When God, the Creator, prepared human beings a long time ago, He also created something that would produce enough food to sustain all human beings on earth. This something is soil. Meishu-sama is saying that the role of soil is to produce food to sustain human beings on earth. Naturally, then, the role that the sacred ground of soil, that is, the African sacred grounds, is to play should correspond to this will of Meishu-sama, this will of God. As I told you in my previous message, Meishu-sama taught us that when the ideal world comes, that is, when a paradise on earth is established, all of humanity will practice a vegan diet. He said that all of humanity will follow a vegan diet in the world of Miroku. Just a quick pause, right? It's two things that really caught my attention. And I did share, I believe, a little bit when we saw the video together, and I have shared in other occasions. But one is sacred ground itself, right? For a long time, for me, this was a very figurative image, right? One representing fire, one representing water, one representing soil. But there is a direct link between the sacred ground, this holy place, and our daily lives, right? In this case, we see the sacred ground of soil and its role through nature farming, right? It's all connected. It's not like Meishu-sama taught separate things where here you have nature farming, here you have the idea of a vegan diet, here you have the sacred grounds, right? And today, through the holy seed of Kyoshu, we are being guided to see the whole picture, to see Meishu-sama's whole picture, even if just a little, right? And to follow that. And that is really a blessing. It's a true blessing. Another point that really caught my attention is Masaaki-sama sharing with us this will of Meishu-sama, this sacred word of Meishu-sama, this affirmation of Meishu-sama saying that when paradise on earth comes, right, when that is established, the world of Miroku is established, all of humanity will follow a vegan diet. All of humanity, right? This is not one country, one people, one group. All of humanity will follow a vegan diet. And that is a very bold statement by Meishu-sama, right? But very true. We know it's true. And how we receive that, I believe, is truly important for us to reflect within each one of us, right? Within ourselves. How do we receive this truth of Meishu-sama? Masaaki-sama continues. By the way, in my last message, I used the phrase strict vegetarian diet, but actually, vegetarian or vegetarian diet is an ambiguous term, so I wish to avoid using it from now on. When using the Japanese term saishoku, Meishu-sama is essentially referring to a vegan diet, so the term vegan diet is more appropriate when describing the diet of the world of Miroku. What I am trying to say is that Africa, the sacred ground of soil, should be the place to put forth great effort into the practice of Meishu-sama's nature farming. In this way, Africa could not only correspond to the will of Meishu-sama when he says that all people in the world will one day follow a vegan diet, but it could also produce a great amount of food to feed humanity. Yes, that's right. People of the world might have the image that Africa is poor, that African people suffer from hunger, and that Africa needs help. But Africa should and must prove them wrong. I mean, more than proving them wrong, Africa must practice nature farming on the greatest scale possible. And rather than being fed, it should play the role in feeding the African people. No, feeding all of humanity to fulfill its role as the sacred ground of soil. Everybody, just take a moment to sink that in, right? To take that in, let it sink. The role for the sacred ground of soil is not only prayer, it is the role to feed all of humanity. All of humanity. This is enormous, right? It's not feeding just one country, one people to fulfill its role as the sacred ground of soil. It is here to serve in feeding not only the African people, but all of humanity. Look at this mission that we as a church have been entrusted to by Meishu-sama. Look at what Masaaki-sama, Kyoshu-sama's representative, is revealing to us today. Furthermore, he says, the African sacred grounds of World Church of Messiah must turn into a place that epitomizes this role that has been assigned by God and Meishu-sama to all of you, the African people. I'll read this again. The African sacred grounds of World Church of Messiah must turn into a place that epitomizes this role that has been assigned by God and Meishu-sama to all of you, the African people. I know there will be a lot of difficulties ahead. I know there will be times when you think that it is impossible to practice nature farming in Africa, where there are many dry lands. But I am certain that God and Meishu-sama will provide you with divine wisdom and assistance to overcome these difficulties and hardships. The time has come for all of you, the African members, to fulfill the role Meishu-sama assigned to you. Go and start practicing nature farming to produce grains like corn, grow vegetables, root vegetables, legumes, every kind of produce that can be harvested in your land. Let World Church of Messiah in Africa lead other churches around the world in the practice of nature farming and a vegan diet. Let World Church of Messiah in Africa lead the world in the efforts of constructing a world of Miroku, a paradise on earth. I say, go on and start projects that even encourage people outside of our church to practice nature farming and a vegan diet. The world thinks that Africa is always influenced by outside forces. Let us prove it wrong. Just to be clear, I am not saying that we have to deny medical science like we did before, nor am I giving any medical advice here. If you have concerns about your health, you should always consult a doctor and listen to their advice. What I am talking about now is something much greater. It is about faith, about the mission Africa carries, and about the future of humanity. Africa, the sacred ground of soil. I believe the expectation Meishu-sama has of you, the people in Africa, is immense. Now, just making a quick pause, right? We see Masaaki-sama is declaring this will of Meishu-sama and bringing it to all of us, but also very aware that it's not some rosy image that's going to be easy, right? As he mentions a few slides earlier when we see him saying, he says, I know there will be a lot of difficulties ahead. I know there will be times when you think that it is impossible to practice nature farming in Africa, where there are many dry lands. But look what he shares. He says, but I am certain that God and Meishu-sama will provide you with divine wisdom and assistance to overcome these difficulties and hardships. And furthermore, a few slides later, Masaaki-sama shares with us, what I am talking about now is something much greater. It is about faith, about the mission Africa carries, and about the future of humanity. I think this sacred word really brings us to reflect on these points, right? On our faith. Do we see this as just an impossible challenge, impossible task? Oh, that's not doable. That's feeding the world. That just doesn't make sense, right? Or do we really acknowledge God and Meishu-sama truly alive? Jesus truly alive, bringing us, guiding us through the holy seed of Kyoshu to make this a reality. It's not by human force or human intent that this will happen, right? Only by God's will and God's permission, but through our 100% effort to respond to that will of God, right? Through faith, believing in the entirety of this will of Meishu-sama, this sacred word, we can serve to the fullest. And it's really inspiring. I don't have words to describe how exciting this is to be able to be a part of this, to be able to really deepen our faith and our relationship with God and Meishu-sama through this sacred word of Masaaki-sama and this immense gift that Meishu-sama is giving us through the construction of the sacred grounds of Africa, nature farming, and a vegan diet. Furthermore, Masaaki-sama shares Africa, the sacred ground of soil. I believe the expectation Meishu-sama has of you, the people in Africa, is immense. By following the diet of the world of Miroku and by practicing nature farming, that is, by practicing a farming method proposed by Meishu-sama that prohibits the use of any type of chemical, pesticide, or fertilizer, including animal manure, and only allows the use of simple and natural forms of compost, members in Africa will become the models for all other members in the world to follow. When I talk about food, I talk about it not only for us to correspond to the sacred word of Meishu-sama regarding the diet in the world of Miroku, but also to correspond to the will of Meishu-sama, who taught us the importance of nature farming. I strongly wish to correspond to these wills of Meishu-sama together with African members and together with members around the world. Just a quick pause, right? You right now watching this video, how are you receiving this, right? Are you just as excited to join forces with Masaaki-sama, with the members in Africa, with members around the world to correspond to these wills of Meishu-sama? Right? Put it in the text, write it in, share your thoughts. I am so happy and looking forward to serve to the fullest in this way, right? And what does that mean for us, right? What does it mean for us to correspond to this will? Look what Masaaki-sama is sharing with us here. To those who are not in Africa, to those who are in Brazil, Portugal, the United States, Japan, Korea, Bolivia, Australia, United Kingdom, and so forth. I encourage all of you to follow the example of Africa so that we can be worthy of being regarded as residents of the world of Miroku. This is a very key point also, right? As I was reading this sacred word, for me, this really caught my mind. I mean, they're all key points. I'm not separating one or the other here, but this really caught my attention. You know, we are learning that this heaven is at hand, right? It's here. And we are serving from heaven. We return to heaven and serve from heaven. But it's not just in the realm of thought and feeling, right? As we can see, Masaaki-sama is sharing with us and encouraging us to follow the example of Africa so that we can be worthy of being regarded as residents of the world of Miroku, right? Meishu-sama says all of humanity will follow a vegan diet. All of humanity. So if I want to follow this will of Meishu-sama, if I want to be regarded as a resident of the world of Miroku by God and Meishu-sama, then I have to follow that to the fullest, right? I either really jump in on board or not. Of course, some of us might have an adjustment to that, right? It's a plunge, but at the same time, it's a plunge of faith. I believe this. I accept this. Allow me, God, to serve this way. Allow me to live in accordance to the world of Miroku, and not just pray for it and accept and expect God to change things, right? I've heard that comment as well, right? I'm praying to follow a vegan diet. Yet at the same time, I don't want to make any changes to my food. I don't want to make any changes to my eating habits. I just praying for it. It doesn't make sense, does it? We have to do our best, right? We have to follow in the example of the African members, as Masaaki-sama is sharing here, and become worthy, right? Become ones that can be considered, regarded as residents of the world of Miroku. Further, he says, to all of you who are in Africa, let us practice nature farming like never before. Let us produce food through nature farming. Let us correspond to the will of Meishu-sama. And with our own hands, let us create a bright and glorious future for all of humanity. I believe it is in this way that you, the African members, will be able to fulfill the mission Meishu-sama has entrusted to you. You who live on the sacred ground of soil that is in Africa. Like I said, there is no reading this sacred word enough, watching this video enough. It is truly, truly a blessing for all of us, right? Masaaki-sama is not only through this sacred word revealing Meishu-sama's will for each one of us, what Meishu-sama expects of us, and what he's entrusting us with, which is the future of humanity. Right? Masaaki-sama is also giving us all the support and all the guidance necessary for us to do that. Right? We're not on our own. We're being embraced by the holy seed of Kyoshu, by Kyoshu-sama, by Masaaki-sama, to receive this true will of Meishu-sama and follow in Meishu-sama's footsteps as Meishu-sama brings his work of salvation on a global scale. That is a true blessing, right? Today, we know that we can turn to the holy seed of Kyoshu to receive Meishu-sama's thoughts and feelings for this age, for this moment in time. So more than ever, let us dig in, right? Let us receive this with an open heart and together with our brothers and sisters in Africa, together with members around the world, let us bring this gospel of salvation and bring Meishu-sama's nature farming and bring Meishu-sama's vegan diet to the world and live as ones who can be one day regarded as residents of the world of Miroko. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me today. It's been a truly a special moment, and you can access the links in the description below. You can access the videos. Also, share with your friends, share with your family. So many people are going through so many issues, right? And if they were just knew this sacred word, who knows how their life could change. So I encourage you to share and pass this blessing on to your family and friends. Thank you so much for joining us. May all honor, may all glory be returned to God always.